and really good IT professional. And online, Christian Georgi joined us, who was the person who prepared the Romanian team the previous year and let them win this competition. We also have Katerina Hadji from Greece and really active in Estonia in clean tech and other incubators. With us is Delina Maliki from Switzerland, from KPMG, and also Stelios Kotsios, who is from the University of Athens, the president of the economics department. Thank you very much, and I wish we have great finals today. I would like to invite the first team to present their work, Team Singapore.
Thank you. Can we begin now?
Just wait for another minute and then you can begin. Okay, guys, you can begin your presentation now. Do you have the remote control? Is it working?
Yes, I do, Yulia. Thank you.
Okay, please go.
Okay, hi, welcome to Team Singapore. My name is Reina, and I'll be taking us through our presentation today. So, firstly, looking at our executive summary, we decided to approach the problem from two angles. Firstly, the question of whether the firm should invest in the project of 94 million. And second question is, at what price should we undertake the construction project at? We suggested that the client should apply for this project at the current stipulated price of 94 million euros, but ask for a $1.5 million maintenance cost yearly from the government. Some impact measures was internal rate of return of 9.87 for the firm, right? We project that, and we project a recoupment of initial investment by year 11. So, analyzing the case, we decided to split down into the four different key case facts. Right, one is the developments, which is that the university has already acquired two neighboring education institutes, and they're looking for a contractor like our client to build them a dormitory as well as an entire campus. It's highly likely that the construction cost will exceed the initial $94 million investment. Therefore, debt financing would be done. We decided to approach this question from also the government's and society's point of view by looking at the benefits of public-private partnerships to all stakeholders. One, we can share both the costs and the risks between the private and public sectors, and we also get to enjoy the private sector efficiency and the expertise of our client in building this, offering the government value for money. Some risks, though, we found are fourfold. Market risks, partnership risks, inherent in all PPPs, financial risks, and environmental risks. The biggest risk we thought was market risks, right? Because we're taking debt to finance our purchase. Therefore, if there are low rental occupancy rates or potential economic downturns, that could very well harm our acquisition. Next, moving on.
Next, right, in trying to assess the various costs of renovating the compound, we must first list the various facilities that we want to include. As you can see, they range from school buildings to green spaces, as well as commercial spaces such as shops. Next, we determine the amount of land that these places would need before estimating the cost per square meter of constructing them. We must take into account the various factors that are unique to each facility. For instance, school buildings were specified to be 56,000 square meters, but we were only allocated 32,000 square meters of land. The building would hence need to be multi-story, incurring a higher construction cost compared to shops that only occupy the ground floor. In general, the absolute numbers proposed are estimates of our group's research, where online sources generally provided a range of values, which we will take the mean of. We can then see at the bottom of the slide that the upfront costs of construction in the first 3 years will amount to just over 143 million. At first glance, it may seem that the project is economically unfeasible due to the university's measly contribution of 94 million. However, the green features of our smart building extend beyond maintenance. It starts from the initial construction of the building with the use of natural aggregate, which is 40% cheaper. This is significant, considering raw materials account for a significant portion of costs. Moreover, we find that the green features of our smart university building helps to significantly reduce operating costs in the long run. In particular, our plan involves engaging AI systems, where the Internet of Things, a network of various systems, will help optimize the use of utilities within the campus. There is also the use of centralized cooling systems as well as solar panels to cut utility costs to a minimum. In addition, we employ the use of a moving bed biofilm reactor that treats wastewater to repurpose them for the maintenance of green spaces. Both upfront costs of raw materials and maintenance costs of utilities are thus cut to a minimum here. Next, we compare the distribution of costs between the long and short run respectively. We can see that the cost for building is drastically lower in the long run compared to upfront costs, showing the significance of the utility cost savings of green building. Before I hand the time over to Amit, I would like to emphasize that the operating expenditure, which is only about 5 million, is much, much smaller than the initial upfront cost of over 140 million.
Hence, from our cost analysis, it becomes painfully clear that initially the costs outweighed the $94 million from the university. That too, by a startling $49 million. So the conclusion seems pretty obvious. Don't take up the contract as it only bleeds money. Well, Team Singapore disagrees. In fact, we view this initial deficit of $49 million as an upfront payment for the opportunity to make further profits through developing our own various innovative income streams on a per annum basis to eventually break free, even and turn green. Having said that, we will now be diving deeper into the benefits and opportunities of the contract. Firstly, we examine the overarching benefits to the contractor from engaging in the project, most notably those emerging from green buildings. In the short run, benefits emerge from cost savings as previously elaborated, coupled with tax benefits from the Greek government. Additionally, our client can expect to see a strengthened ESG rating emerging from improved sustainability and governance practices. This in turn translates to improved investor and consumer confidence, enabling healthy property appreciation and healthy capitalization rates. This appreciation is further helped by green buildings being more future-proof and secured against changing climate conditions and demand. That being said, let's dive into some specifics. Our revenue generating potential stems from our hybrid PPP deal structure, where we obtain revenue from both the public entity, in this case the university, and the end users of the site. From the university, we receive the initial $94 million upfront, with an additional yearly availability payment of $1.5 million to cover the university's maintenance and insurance, as stipulated in the case. But where our revenue potential really lies is our end user revenue streams. This encompasses revenue from dorm students, parking spaces, sporting facilities, and commercial opportunities such as cafes and retail. However, taking it another step further in line with our green building, we see an opportunity in energy. As we will shortly elaborate upon, selling excess energy to the Greek power grid from on-campus solar solutions can further add to our revenue. In terms of numbers, these come to give an annual revenue of $16 million, which far outweigh the $5 million in annual cost. This bites away at the initial $49 million in deficit, eventually turning a green profit.
Now you may ask, why do we need to sell excess energy? Is it because we are losing money by implementing solar panels? Well, it may seem that it does not generate that much revenue. It actually helps us to save energy cost. This model or equation shows the total power we can get from solar, wind, and biomass. However, to simplify it for our case, we only look at the solar energy to produce electricity. This equation is used to calculate the total power generated from a solar panel system with an efficiency of 22%, an area of 30,000 square meters placed on the rooftop of the building, and follows global horizontal irradiance of 1,704 kilowatt hour per square meter every year. With this, we can generate about 14.5 gigawatt hour of energy every year, exceeding the amount we need for consumption by 3.4 gigawatt hour. Hence, we are actually saving cost and generate revenue with a total of about 3 million euros every year. In fact, we can get back the total cost spent on maintenance and installation fees for 30 years in just 10 years' time. Furthermore, we have also achieved our goal of near zero energy building and contributed to Greece's goals in 2030 to reduce carbon emissions by 55%. So now we already looked at the numerical analysis of cost and revenue. Let's evaluate their overall impact. As you can see in the first graph, we begin to recoup our initial investment in the 11th year. This is because of the steady revenue streams that we have starting from year 4 onwards. At the same time, calculating our net present value, this project is worth 78.3 million euros in base case. To put these numbers into perspective, in our base case, we can have an IRR of 9.87%. In our bull case, this number shoots up to 12.2%. Considering the other huge benefits for our client mentioned by Amit, such as improving their ESG rating, we believe that 94 million is a good amount we can accept to start this project.
So now that we've established that this is in fact a venture we want to undertake, this is the deal structure we will propose our client take, which is essentially to first open a subsidiary that then creates a special purpose vehicle with the University of Masali. The SPV is a key component of every PPP, which allows for the hedging of risk for both parties in an event where they have to liquidate their assets. However, we found that under Greek securitization law, SPVs are actually forbidden from raising public or private equity. Hence, we propose circumventing this by using our subsidiary to raise private equity while using our SPV to issue project bonds and take out commercial loans. Having a subsidiary also allows us to better evaluate our client's financials, since we lack information on its other ventures to compute important values such as the weighted average cost of capital that can prove this venture is really worth undertaking. Moving on, we intend to use a dual stage structure to raise capital in tandem with the different phases of our construction. This is to ensure a robust mix of debt and equity to minimize the WACC for our firm. The first phase of construction, which takes place during the first 2 years, covers building the core of both the academic and commercial lots. This will be funded by commercial loans, as we believe it will be optimal to only ask for private equity after having established some revenue-yielding buildings on the campus and proving the profitability of our venture to our investors. The second phase, which takes place in the 3rd year, is to finish the simpler and more low-lying areas on the premises, and this will be funded by the private equity and project bonds. As you can see here, our DE ratio is 1.5, and our latest calculations have found that our cost of debt would be 4.38%, while the cost of equity would be 10.225%. Combining this, we see a WACC of 6.13%, which is significantly below the average WACC of 7% in the Greek construction industry, showcasing our substantially lower cost of financing our project as compared to other firms. This confirms that our client will be a competitive bidder for the tender. Hence, we believe that this is the most optimal composition and timeline of securing capital for our client.
So there you have it. We've convinced you on why our client is the best being able to serve the needs of the government by taking this project. But we also wanted to empathize with the government. Why will it be so that our proposal would be so attractive that the government would accept it? Firstly, because we offer them a ROI of 133% over 30 years, which is a compound growth rate of 2.9%. We also offer multiplier We also offer benefits to the public environment of BOLOS, such as contracting their local firms to construct our buildings, and also offer positive externalities from constructing educational facilities for their population. Therefore, we strongly do support the stand of accepting this project at a $94 million cost with an annual payment of $1.5 million for maintenance. Thank you.
You went over the limits by a couple of seconds, but it's okay. So now, dear jury, do we have any questions?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, one of the first starting points, one of the reasons that actually one of the concerns I would say for your project was the fact that you might have low occupations in the campus. Even though you mentioned, you look at the case study actually that you were given, was mentioned that the university used to have 12,000 students and they had accommodation only for 40 students. And the expansion of the campus will basically require only the dormitories for about 750 students. 750 students with the number of 12,000 students attending the university. Why did you consider to have a low occupancy, and why did you find this one to be a weakness?
Okay, yes, your question was, given that we've studied the university, why we consider market risk to be still a weakness. Well, okay, we did study the geography of West BOLOS. We understand that the University of Masali is distributed across a few different areas, a few different buildings near a centralized region, right? The reason why we face market risk still is because our campus is not just, our revenue streams, right, if you look at our 4 revenue streams, are not solely dependent on dormitories. Dormitories are actually one of our safer streams. We estimate maybe a 80 to 90% occupancy rate for our base and bear case. But for the other things, such as the commercial rentals, that really depends on whether commercial tenants see value in setting up shop in our campus, in our university town, right? And that depends on whether you can get the buy-in of the residents living near West Wolos too. We understand that we don't serve the university students only, but also the residents in West Wolos. So that's where we found market risk to be at.
Yeah, and if I may add on myself, I think if you look at our financials and the calculations, I think if you can go to the appendix right now, please. So in our bull case, we considered 100% occupation rates. And I think for us, that seemed pretty reasonable considering all the reasons that you mentioned, right? 12,000 students integrating to 2 more educational institutions. But at the same time, 100% is quite hard to always achieve, which is why, to be safe, our base case is based on 90% occupation rates, just so that it can still be grounded in some sense, a bit more conservative, right? We don't want to overestimate our numbers. At the same time, our bear case is 80%. So we've tried to bring all the numbers to you, all the different cases, and all that being said, the profits still remain. So we just wanted to account for the risks, which is why we mentioned it as one of the potential things. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you for the answer. However, I'm still, I'm still worried about the reason mentioned to be low occupation mentioned there, considering that even though you're referring to companies renting the spaces, and we know very well the legislation in regards to what kind of companies can rent spaces around the universities, any kind of educational institution. And of course, in the number that you mentioned later on, 80 and 90% occupation rate, it's quite high. Definitely not low occupation rate as you mentioned at the beginning. That's all I have to say. Anyway, thank you very much for your answer, guys. Well done.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from the jury? Maybe the on-site jury?
Okay, if anyone from the judges have any questions, please raise your hand.
I would like to make a comment. Hello there. First of all, congratulations, because you have done a lot of work. We can see that. I have a comment. In every slide that you presented, I had some questions that you were answering on the next slide and so on. But at the end, the questions were so many that finally I got lost in the way because there is too much information. We are concerned on how you calculated things, yes, but we are more interested in the results of the calculation. So could anyone from your team summarize in 1 or 2 sentences why an investor should invest in this project? Because, to be honest, I'm tired and I'm confused, but I know that you are more tired than me. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you for your question. Yes, I'm sure that, yes, we did put a lot of thought into the numbers. And if you are looking for a final conclusion, here you go. So just focus on 3 numbers, right? The net present value of our client's investment over 30 years at a discount rate of 3.5% is 78 million. So therefore, it will be profitable, even taking into account this, the interest of inflation or our cost of capital. Secondly, potential for internal rate of return is 9.87%, which is probably not at the high end of a real estate, but it's around the middle range. And considering how this, how little risk we're taking, right? Because it's shielded. We're in a special purpose vehicle together with government. Therefore, it's a safe and stable return. And we can recoup our initial investment by year 11. Therefore, saying that we have positive cash flow that's stable over time, that enables us to have hit a quick recoupment of capital and make profits from year 11 onwards.
Right, and I think just to add on to Rainer, maybe I could simplify it a little bit more for you, right? So the essence of the whole case is, when we first take up the construction, the money we're getting upfront is $94 million from the university, but the construction cost is going to far outweigh it. So I think if you looked at the slides, it's around $147 million. But for us, the project is still viable because on an annual basis, we can make profits from our revenue streams to cover up this deficit, which is why we want to go ahead with this. Yeah, that pretty much sums up the entire rationale behind our case. Right, hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? I'll give the jury 10 more seconds. Okay, so I believe that's it. Thank you very much, Team Singapore, for coming. Thank you very much for your prompt response to us calling you. Thank you for your presentation, and you'll need to wait for the results. See you soon.
Right, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
A lot of fun.
So now I will give the stage to my colleagues from Greece with the on-site teams.
Hello again. So, we have some interesting events happening in this IEO. Some of those are fun. Some of those are enjoyable. We are with one of the second ones. So what happened with Team Singapore is that it was the first time, the first country in her group, but the second one had the exact same score as Singapore. So we found out that in those cases, we don't have a way to break the ties. So there is no other way than inviting Team Greece as the 8th one in those finals. I have already privately asked from the Romanian jury member to be as fair as he can, and he told to me that as educator, he couldn't be anything else than fair. I will ask the same by the Greek jury members. So please be as strict as possible against the Greek teams. So we have a fair final here in Greece. So after those unprecedented news, let's move forward and invite Team Brazil, a usual winner of IEO business case finals. So please join us to present your work.
Test. Okay, let's start. Good afternoon. We are Team Brazil, composed by. Wait. Can we restart? Okay. Good afternoon. We are Team Brazil, composed by Leonardo, Lucas, Luis, Pedro, and Renato. We evaluated the construction project and we reached the conclusion that it is best for our client to, in fact, enter the deal by proposing to build sustainable facilities to enhance both education and also social integration in the region. Financial viability would also be achieved through a total cost of 70 million euros, a break-even in 8 years, and an internal rate of return of 16%. Also, the most relevant risk would be the risk of government default of payments.
Our project will be done to a private-public partnership. A PPS is a partnership between different stakeholders with different projects. This partnership have 3 points that are essential to achieve great results. They are risk management, governance, and last but not least, pragmatic approach. There are 4 phases to do the partnership, the PPP. They are, first of all, designing, construction, maintenance, and last, training, transfer. Okay, so PPPS is a trend in Greece. In the last 7 years, over thousands of PPS have been implemented by companies in a variety of sectors, such as educational and infrastructure, always achieving great financial and social results. This is a proof of the efficacy of this model. We have here examples from Attica, Athens, from Crete, and for various of sectors.
So people usually think that there is a trade-off between environmental responsibility and economic growth. But does this trade-off exist? In fact, it does not exist because it is possible to be environmental responsibility and have also financial returns. This graph shows the CAGR of green roof market, and the CAGR is actually pretty good. And also zero energy buildings are growing as never, and this demonstrates that it is a good option to invest.
After our market analysis, we develop our solution. The restoration and construction of a campus with 52,000 square meters include a dorm to 750 students and a high modern school to 3,000 students. With this infrastructure, with roads and sidewalk network around the campus, students will have again on social welfare and quality, because they will spend less time to go to the university and they can improve their academic performances. The project will be constructed by the zero energy building model, producing all its energy on site by solar panel, wasting resource with a sustainability complex system. The project will use 8.4 gigawatts hour per year, free of non-sustainable source, causing in a reduction of more than 8,000 tons of carbon emission during the 30 years. Also, we will construct a park with green and sports areas. But how this will work, Luis?
So the idea of the park is basically uniting social welfare and economic growth. So basically the social welfare will be made through a sports area where the citizens of Volos are going to be able to invest in their health and also in their productivity. Also, we are going to have a commerce that is one of our revenue points. And in this commerce, smaller and bigger entrepreneurs are going to be able to make their economic activity and also profit. And by that, we're going to receive a rent.
This bold project will have too much impact to the Volus community in the long run. Collaborate with many UN Sustainable Development Goals, such as the number 3, good health and well-being, and the number 11, sustainability cities and communities. With the improvement of educational level and health quality, with a sustainable approach, Volus can be, in the future, a whole model city to the whole Europe. In the long run, too, the ESG aspect can benefit our company to have a better image.
So basically, we don't think that we can do business without knowing the place. And because of that, yesterday, we went to an abundant cotton factory near here, near University of Tesla, to make a field observation. And with the field observation, we observed that the structure of the factory is actually pretty good. And with this structure, we can assume that we are going to have lower costs because a retrofit is going to be made, and this is possible considering the not pretty bad structure. So yeah, we think that we need to do field works when we are investing in something.
Now talking about the financial viability of the project. Here we have represented the total capex of the investment, which is mainly concentrated in the cost of constructing both the school and the dormitories. However, there are also a lot of different factors that are still considerable, as the demolition costs, for example.
Our revenue comes from two different sources, either from direct government payment or from activities related to the management operation of the entire site. While the 3 of the 4 channels of revenue that come from the government are actually directly equivalent to SG&A expenses and maintenance of capital expenditure, they don't really allow for profit, since they are directly linked and 100% of these expenses. Nevertheless, they are essential for maintaining the project in the long-term aspect. On the other hand, there are also channels for generating profit, such as the annual payment of 7.5 million euros from the government for the usage of the property, and also revenue from commercial sites and from parking lots that will be present in the sustainable park. Now, talking about structure of capital, we designed a model to predict what would be the optimum level of debt in our project financing, and this would be about 60% with a weighted average cost of capital of 13%. Now, there are 2 main reasons to prioritize debt in such a project. The first one is that we would have an opportunity to get a loan with the European Central Bank due to the PPP, a PPP property. And this loan would, of course, have lower interest rates due to the lower risks and close contact to the credit supplier. Now, the second reason is intrinsic to any debt operation, and it is the tax shield.
As we can see here, our break-even will happen in 8 years after a sustainable revenue growth. Other interesting point is that our internal rate of return is always above the weighted average cost of capital, showing the resilience of the project. The same can be seen when we look at the net present value, that is positive in all cases. Therefore, our analysis show how strong and robust is our project through variances in our expectations.
Of course, there are risks involved. In the case of this project, we divided them in 3 categories: the financial risks, the operational risks, and the macroeconomic risks. The main ones are the financial, which are F1 and F2 represented here, and its mitigations are respectively diversification and conservative estimations. You can pass. Here we have some next steps to the implementation of the project, and they can be summarized in our client making the offer, the break-even in 2034, and the maturity reached in 2046. Now we have some key points of the presentation. First, we suggest our clients to accept and apply for the 94 million suggested by the university. Second, the project will impact more than 2,000 students. And third, our project will be financially viable and resilient to variation in our assumptions. Not only that, but we'll generate 15 million net present value. Thank you. We are Team Brazil, and thank you for your attention and for your time.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand if you do.
Hello.
Maybe we
Can you hear me?
Maybe we should give from the online first.
Hello,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear? Okay. Congratulations. Very nice presentation, very nice pitching. So I have some gaps in the numbers. The presentation is fine, but let's talk numbers. So you said that, for example, there is a slide with some investment from the state, from the government. Can you go there, please? One more? I think this one, yeah. So I don't get it. You will ask money from the government and from other investors, right? To do these numbers there, or not?
This may be better illustrated and we go to the income statement. Here we have the revenue build-up right on top of the sheet. And here we see payments through years. So the number you saw in the slide, 210 million, it's just the annual payment that comes from the government after the...
Okay, so it's annual?
Yes.
Okay, so... Okay, so you said that you will use solar panels that in 30 years, they will produce 30 gigawatts or something like that. 3 gigawatts or 30 gigawatts? And 8 gigawatts, sorry. And you said that you will use only 500,000 on maintenance on the whole establishment, right? In this, can you go to the previous slide, please? Okay, here, payment for maintenance, 6,000 euros per year, right?
No, I think this is supposed to be 62.
62 millions.
Let me see, maybe it was together with administrative expenses because all was accounted for in SG&A, right? Let's see the statement. Either way, it shouldn't really impact because both are projected as a percentage of revenue. So let me see exactly. Yeah, I believe it should be a different distribution.
Okay, I'm just checking if there is a real feasibility for your numbers. That's why I'm asking, because this slide, to be honest, it makes me question the whole feasibility of the project. But okay, other than that, it's fine. Okay. Anyone else? Any comment or question?
Okay, I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
Congratulations, guys.
Hello?
It's interesting.
Can you hear me?
I don't think they can at the moment. I'm reaching the Greece venue officials so that they ask you to ask the question. Please, I'm trying to get us noticed.
Okay, so they can hear me right now, no?
Yeah, but we are in the broadcast on YouTube.
Okay.
I think we can hear the online question if you have some.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
in Brazil?
we can.
Okay. So as the previous judge asked you as well about the cost of gigawatts, I was just made the research right now while you're making the presentation. By the way, well done. Very nice presentation. Did you make then any kind of research in regards to the cost of producing that amount of gigawatts of solar energy? Because that's a cost that I could not see in your project later on. It's a point that you actually mentioned at the beginning, the green energy that you're producing, but a cost to produce that amount of energy is quite high, and I couldn't see it in your project. Maybe can you show me exactly what is it?
Can you please rephrase that? I think that we lost the first part of the question.
Okay, so in the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that you're producing a large amount of solar energy. Okay, this side. Okay, perfect. Did you make any kind of research in regards to the cost of producing, of placing, buying, and of course mounting this amount of solar panels to produce this huge amount of solar energy? How much is that cost? And I couldn't see it anywhere in your cost revenue analysis later on.
Okay, we did all our cost estimates by multiples. Can you go to the appendix slide? So we found a lot of researches and we did an average to come to this number, the non-zero energy building, average cost of building per meter squared. So this cost has not only in it the cost of building the construction, but also the cost of doing the solar panels and the whole energy structure in it. So we use this to estimate the cost of constructing an ZEB construction from the part that we actually built, and for the part that we do the retrofit, we define a kind of a premium. We have the cost of doing retrofit from an abandoned factory to a normal place for people to live, and we have the costs of you building something until it is NZEB. So you kind of define a premium, which would be, qualitative speaking, the amount that you need to do in order to transform something normal in order to something non-zero energy building. So that's what we do for the retrofit part, and for the construction we only use the 1500.
Okay, thank you very much. While you're making the presentation, I just made a quick Google search, and I found out that the average cost per watt in Greece is $2.95. And that's why I ask you, because for 1 kilowatt, you need $3,000 basically, which will be pretty much 2,500 euro per 1 kilowatt. And the amount of energy that you mentioned at the beginning was quite high. And that's why I wanted to see if you have this cost somewhere mentioned in your cost revenue analysis, because it's a cost which is very high in Greece. It's apparently, according to the government authorities in Greece, which I found it on one of the websites, they still have a quite high cost of building solar energy at this moment. But anyway, thank you very much for your answer.
Yeah, just as a point, because your question was good, but the quantity is in 30 years. So it's the total energy produced, zero energy produced, and this is the impact in 30 years. Only this. Thanks for the question.
Okay, if you have any more questions from the online judges, you have about 3 minutes left to ask anything.
Okay, thank you, Team Brazil. You did an amazing job. And we now invite Hong Kong as the third team of our business case final.
Good afternoon, judges. We are Hong Kong Consulting Partners Limited, and today we are here to present to you the PPP project with University of Thessaly to the contracting company. I'm Shrees, and on the next slide are my teammates.
I'm Gavin.
And Helen.
Next slide, please. So to begin with an overview of the strategic framework, the key questions in this case is to determine the profitability to the contracting company, which we will refer to as CC from now on, and to determine how profitable a public-private partnership is with the University of Thessaly, aimed at reforming an abandoned cotton factory into a new open campus for the UTH. And crucially, to determine whether the CC should apply for the PPP, and if so, at what price. The main objectives of the CC is to participate in a financeable build, operate, transfer project, a BOT project, where project returns are maximized while maintaining an acceptable risk level for the CC. And to ensure a mutually exclusive but collectively exhaustive framework, our analysis includes a quantitative analysis of the feasibility of this 94 million euro budget proposed by the government, recommendations for land use, as well as securing an investment consortium, and finally, an assessment of the project risks. Next slide, please. The project involves reforming a disused cotton factory in Nea Ionia, a municipality towards West Volos that holds over a third of the population of Greece, of Volos, sorry. And with Volos being a college town, there is clearly a huge need for more student facilities, such as dorms, sport facilities, and green areas. And so the UTH is now seeking a contractor to build and reform this abandoned area by building near zero energy buildings and opening up a new campus. And they're considering a PPP structure in order to develop this project. Next slide, please.
So there are many PPP models that could actually be adopted, and all of these are actually successfully implemented in Europe. However, due to the parameters of this project with the public tender offer, it is clear that BOO and BBO model would not fit due to the ownership having to be returned to the UTH after the 30 years. However, with the same reason, we can clearly say that the build, operate, transfer BOT model would be most suitable for this project moving forward, as we could be financed by a courtesan of investors while at the same time lowering the risk and maintaining the high ROI. Next slide, please.
The project will have 4 phases. Phase 1 will be the planning and investing of the project. Phase 2 and 3, which can make up the 30-year BOT agreement, sees the construction and operation of the site as well as debt repayments. At phase 4, after 30 years, the ownership of the land and all properties will be returned back to the UTH.
Next slide, please.
So the UTH's mission to achieve the social good of knowledge is maintained throughout our project as the forefront of our project, with the near zero energy usage throughout the land exemplifying the CC's commitment to ESG. So we aim to connect the community in 3 other ways. First being our process where we engage the local students, and next in our facilities where we engage the local community to our students, and third in our results where we create the global community. Next slide, please.
Okay, aligned to Euro's 2050 net zero goal, our buildings are all zero energy, achieving sustainability. These buildings include a commercial area that enhance student life and catering the public, and the sports and hospital facilities that link the local community with the UTH by providing essential recreational and healthcare services. Next slide, please.
So you may be wondering why we have chosen to do hospitals. So first, when you look at the map that we have created here, there are only 5 clinics and hospitals in the whole area of Volos, with a severe shortage on the western side of Volos. And specifically for our project, we would like to propose a non-surgical teaching hospital in West Volos to accommodate this. And this, so then median age of Volos is 11.4 years above the world average, indicating an aging population. Hence, this shows the growing demand of elderly related healthcare facilities that we need, such as physiotherapy. This complements the UTH's strengths, which is being the clinical medical department, where it is ranked top 5 in Greece, where we can attract more operations. Next slide, please.
And another highlight of our project is the use of zero energy buildings. And we plan to implement this through partnering with ZEB Engineering, a industry leader with a lot of expertise in constructing a variety of ZEBs across Greece, as we can see in this photo. And ZEB Engineering estimates and a 5 to 12% increase in the initial cost of constructing the buildings because of the need to install photovoltaic cells and wind turbines. However, we can quickly recoup these costs within 8 to 12 years due to the immense energy cost savings, especially amidst the European energy crisis. And on top of achieving a 30% ROI in 30 years by investing in ZEBs, they also bring a lot of different external benefits, including reductions in global warming, improvements in air quality, as well as increasing the overall environmental awareness of the student body. And therefore, this project not only helps CC secure a reliable partner in UTH, but it also signifies the CC's commitment to ESG and the EU's 2050 net zero goals. Next slide, please.
So this is our land use planning, and you can see we fully utilize the 88,000 square meters of land for profit maximizing and for our resources. Thank you. And
next slide, please.
Okay, so for our cost estimation, our cost can be divided into mainly two parts. One, the hard cost, which like a design and construction cost, and the other soft cost, which like is a maintenance cost or maybe interest payment. The key assumption include an 8% interest rate, along with a rising maintenance cost, as the extended use of facilities will be increasing. During our calculation, we also take the purchasing price parity and inflation into account. In total, the total cost is 141.4 million euros. To determine the present value of this investment, we use a discount rate. We use a discount cash flow model, taking the discount rate on 4%. We use the risk-free rate of return on 10 years treasury bills. This yields a net present cost of 160 million euros, which is in line with the cost of similar PPPs, such as the reform of University of Greece. And first, this is why we first is what we suggest the CC to bid for.
And moving on to the revenue breakdown. So the key revenue streams for our project comes from the use of on-site facilities, so car parks, commercial areas, etc. And we estimate the cumulative revenue after 30 years to be 235 million euros. And this is calculated by estimating the quantities that these services will be consumed in and their average market price in volos. And a key assumption here is an annual revenue growth rate of 6%. And we think this is a realistic number because it is based on the Greek tourism growth. But at the same time, we have also noted that the UTH student body has grown at an immense 15% annually over the last 10 years, suggesting that this projected revenue could be upwards of $300 or even $400 million if we just use a larger, if we just predict a larger revenue growth rate. Next slide, please.
Okay, so according to this break-even graph, we can see that the operation cost is actually lower than the construction cost due to planning costs, and also we will break even in the year 25, and also by the year of 30, ownership transfer and the partnership will be dissolved, and you can see that the revenue is 2 times the initial value of investments. Next slide, please.
To finance our project, we'll raise 30% of our total cost from equity. UTH and CC will be the largest shareholders, and we will attract private investment through strategic partnerships. We'll borrow 20% of our cost from the European Investment Bank because they have a 20% guaranteed loan, especially under the Green Deal, which promises to cut red tape for energy-efficient projects. This will also facilitate our borrowing of the final 50% from commercial banks, with securities being the ownership of the land and properties.
Okay, so you can see that our return on investment is 7.85%, and our internal rate of return is 5.78%, which aligns to the past PPPs in EU, which have an ROI of 7 to 10%. Next slide, please.
Having studied the EU special report and past PPPs.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Yeah, having studied we have evaluated the 2 highest risks, the first being the financing risk, where, however, we can mitigate this through securing individual revenue streams to diversify everything, and we can reduce our reliance on the Greek government and their financial instabilities. Then second of all, even if there's labor shortages that occur, we can negotiate income tax concessions with the Greek government for both for all the workers, and we can also utilize smart construction costs. Next slide, please. And next slide, please.
Yeah, and So finally, our final recommendation is that we advise CC to apply for the PPP at an increased price of 111 million. This is a this is a present value of the total cost that we calculated. And we believe that this project is immensely attractive to CC. First of all, due to the small initial equity stake, so a small initial investment, while there being a range of key income streams, including initial payments from the Greek government, a profit margin from subcontracting this construction work, and annual income from maintenance and operational fees. And finally, we estimate that the total ROI will be 7.8% annually over the next 30 years, with the project breaking even at 25 years. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Do we have any questions from the online jury members?
If I may, I have a quick question.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Congratulations, very nice presentation. I'm not going to go into details with the numbers. It was a very fast presentation. Most probably you've done the math thoroughly before you presented. Two questions I have. At the beginning, you discussed that the main priority of the project is the profitability. However, throughout the project, you also discussed the cost-benefit analysis, which impacts exactly the environment and, of course, the benefit for the country as well. So my first question is, which one you actually consider the priority of the project, the profitability or the cost-benefit analysis, implying also the impact on the environment? And the second question that I have, at what capacity, occupation capacity, basically, I would refer to, you calculated the profit and the revenue in your cost benefit in the cost revenue analysis? Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for your question. I think I'll take the first question. So about the objectives of this project. So we mentioned right at the start, if we could maybe go back to slide 3. Yep, so we mentioned, so that the key objective of this project is to maximize the project returns for CC. So that is clearly like the sort of main objective. But at the same time, we believe that we can achieve a dual objective by working on increasing profitability as well as working on the environmental aspect, because CC is engaged in more than one construction program. This is just one of the PPPs they are engaged in. And by putting forward such green areas and by developing such renewable areas, CC is also signifying its commitment to EU's net zero goals as well as ESG. And this will certainly also boost the image of CC as well and increase their future profitability. And therefore, we believe that these two goals can actually be achieved together. And as mentioned as well, in the ZEB, so zero energy buildings, we can actually even earn a ROI of 30% over 30 years, which will increase our profitability despite the slightly higher initial cost needed to install the photovoltaic cells and the wind turbines, because the cost will eventually be recouped within just 8 to 12 years over the entire 30 years. And I'll pass it on to my teammate Jason, who will answer your second question.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for your question. And then for the profit and cost part, how I calculate the cost is actually, I've found statistics about the Cornell University, which is a PPP of an Ivy League school. And I've used the value of CPI to reduce the reduce the inflation effects. And also I've calculated the PPP of Greece, which is how to decrease the effect of exchange rate to derive of actual very reliable cost statistics. For revenue statistics, I have estimated that the people studying in this university and also the faculty members, as well as the University of Cornell, and I've calculated a ratio. And in order to derive for an exponential curve of profit, we have some deeply investigations in the decimals, and that's how we calculated our profit curve. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much for your answer.
Okay, so now we may have some on-site questions. Do any of you have something to ask? Okay, I think we have one from the online. Okay. I'm sorry, let's move forward to the next team. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really great. So we are moving to our fourth team, Team Malaysia. Let's invite them on the stage.
Oh, okay. An incredible opportunity waits for you, dear client, with West Volos. This abandoned cotton mill is going to become the new beating heart of West Volos, and today Team Malaysia is going to tell you how. Firstly, we have to understand the climate of Greece. Number one, there is an absurd lack of purpose-built student accommodation across the country, leading to many students having to source for private rentals. As you can see, just in Thessaly alone, 12,000 students only have 40 beds to accommodate them. What does this then mean for us as a construction company? For you, my dear client, what it means is that there's an excellent opportunity to capture the market here. There is abundant funding available from a variety of EU sources, providing loans as well as grants for our initiative. This is going to help reduce development costs. The second element here is that as a construction company, this project, which is extremely sustainable, will qualify you for a number of tax incentives and green certifications, boosting your own client portfolio. Therefore, Team Malaysia recommends that we apply for the PPP, however, at a different cost, and we'll tell you why, even considering these 3 key risks and 3 key mitigations. To begin, sky-high rentals have created a very right market for student accommodation. The Greek government has already recognized this risk and is working towards it. There are 3 levels of analysis here for you today. Number one, there's been a lack of supply due to economic recession, macroeconomic headwinds. There's a room for us to provide this supply in this market. Secondly, housing financialization and speculation has driven students out of the rental market. It is just too expensive. The average working adult in Greece pays 37% of their income as rental. 3, short-term rental pressure highly favors tourists who pay higher amounts versus long-term rentals that go to students who are tenants. Now, unfortunately, I can't take you to the site itself, but here is a picture of the cotton mill in Nea Ayunaya. It is 88,000 meters long, and you can see the highlights of where the buildings will be built up. It is a 10-minute drive, as Team Brazil has confirmed, and a 20-minute bus ride from the closest UTH faculty, making it an excellent location for us to service university students.
Okay, given the context of the students in Volos and the housing issues that they're experiencing, we honestly think that the best solution to this is to enter the PPP, but to suggest a higher cost, which is precisely 133 million euros. What we think is that the figure that the UTH provides at 94 million euros is something that is far too unrealistic compared to the calculations that we obtained in the first place. Our calculations accounts for things like your administrative costs, your management fees, and the necessary construction costs, and are all accounted for inflation. And at the end of this 30-year lease, what this amounts to is around 133 million euros at the end of this. So that's precisely why we suggest entering the PPP, but suggesting a higher cost. But what justifies the entrance of this PPP is the expectations that we get based on our revenue projections. We expect construction to finish after 5 years. And from then on, we have additional revenue streams after those 5 years. Things like being able to collect rent from businesses who operate in the area, or things like being able to charge rent for students who live in the dormitories within the area. Here we break down our revenue projections into our best case scenario and our worst case scenario analysis. And we account for things like macroeconomic instability or the underperformance of the university when there are deviations between the best case and the worst case scenario. So in our best case scenario, we think that the break-even point is likely to exist within the 9th year of operation. And under our worst case, we think that our break-even point comes in the 13th year of operation. What this suggests is that even in our worst case scenario, we think that there is still a net positive income gain at the very end of the day. Therefore, we're more than happy to enter this PPP as long as we're able to suggest a higher cost structure.
If this isn't convincing enough, here are 3 additional reasons on why we should take on this project. First of all, this is a sustainable redevelopment project. It's in line with United Nations SDG 11, that is sustainable cities and communities. Secondly, this sustainable development program is also qualifiable for few tax benefits. First, we have the energy performance certificate tax credit. Secondly, since we are developing near zero energy building, you'll also be able to get tax credit up to 30% of the construction cost, which accounts to up to a maximum of 200,000 euros. And lastly, the BREEAM and also the DGNB compliance certificate will also enable us to gain more grants for the sustainable business plan. However, there are some challenges that we have identified in this project, and we have come with some solutions where we can improve this project. First of all, we plan to add value to this project to prevent further environmental damage. Because according to the World Economic Forum, construction itself accounts for 39% of the global carbon emissions. And we plan to solve this problem by developing plastic road and also recycle parks. Secondly, Nia Ionia used to be an ex-industrial city. So most of the job market focuses in the center of the city. So now that this project is developed in the margin of the city, so we can say that building 30 new shop plots will also promote local business activities, which can improve revenues for local businesses. And lastly, we can say that much facilities is needed to accommodate the students of University of Thessaly. So as part of the CSR project, we can develop vocational training center, especially for disabled students, which can help them to promote their own social welfare. Hence, by taking on with this project, it will not only provide business activity currently, but it will also provide future business opportunity for sustainable construction, which can help develop a much more greener city.
What about funding? Blended financing is utilized as per an authority-based design, build, finance, operate DBFO model. Our proposed capital composition. In the best case funding scenario, the project secures at least 30% of funding thanks to EU grants from EBRD, EIB, or Jessica.
Now let's talk about expected funding composition. Now, from year one to year 3 onwards, the company will be expected to bear the brunt of the total cost. From then on until year 30, the company will be expected to receive availability payments, and from then on. Now, alternatively, for worst case scenario, 85% of the funds will be private. By private, I mean private loans or by private partners. One notable example will be the Hellenic Republic Asset Development Fund for energy efficient buildings. Now that's a loan, and by using our energy efficient building scheme, we expect to get favorable loan terms. Next slide. Now let's delve into precedents. We have 2 case studies. We have the University of Crete and Democritus University of Thrace. Now both will undertake PPP projects, and both of them were tendered in around early 2020. For the University of Crete, it's expected to have 3,000 residences, and for the University of Thrace, across 3 cities, they will build dorms, library, and research center. Now, this shows an upward trend of PPP projects, which reinforces our position for a PPP project in Volos due to its popularity. As for contenders, both have 6 contenders, which is a significant amount. And for costs, for University of Crete, it costs around 255 million euros, but after financing that, it costs 160 million euros. And for University of Thrace, the worth is around 133 million euros, and both are partially funded by the European Investment Bank. Now, as you can see, our projected cost is around 133 million euros. And if you take into consideration both of these 2 costs, ours is less than or on par with these 2 costs, making it financially viable.
Next, how do we de-risk? First, we identify the sources: political risk, policy changes, the involvement of multiple parties that can create conflicts of interest, disagreements and communication issues, and also corruption. Over here, we computed a risk matrix to better identify the risks. So over to the left of the risk matrix, we have operational and default risk. And over to the right, top right, we have environment and demand and other commercial risk. Our recommended mitigations are such as environmentally responsive elements, such as fireproofing, so as to act as a first response base for wildfires. Besides that, we also want to implement airtight PPP agreements, and by engaging with legal services and also publishing terms for transparency to build trust with the public.
All right. To go over this one more time, at the very end of the day, we say that there is a 133 million euros initial investment. And at the very end of this, in our best case scenario, we expect a 31.5% return at the end of this, which is a total of 41.7 million euros, which we would generate out of the investment in this project. I want to make it very clear, because what we are building is we are building extra infrastructure for the university, for both your students and the teachers who need it. But secondly, we're also fostering a new community for the locals who live around it by building things like green parks and extra amenities, which are all for their use. We produce 3 impacts for your company. The first thing is that we make your company someone that is sustainable and environmentally conscious, and you become like that. The second is that we also offer lucrative tax benefits for your company. And finally, we bolster your reputation towards clients in compliance with EU regulations. An untapped opportunity awaits in Nea Ionia, West Volos, reimagined with the University of Thessaly. You have to propose with Team Malaysia. Thank you.
So let's move forward to the next part of the presentation, the Q&A part. Do we have any questions from the on-site? Okay. Do you remember? Yannis.
Thank you very much. Bravo, guys. So just to be clear, can you elaborate more on something that you mentioned, maybe the lady did, about the plastic road? I didn't get it. What is the plastic road that you mentioned? Can you say it a little louder?
Okay, so we saw that the construction itself is going to account for 39% of global carbon emission. So if we want to make things sustainable and we want to make a building, because we are demolishing the cotton factory and then we are reconstructing, so we have to account for all that carbon emissions. So we thought that instead of building normal roads and pavement, we could actually go for plastic roads, which is one of the projects that's already been implemented in Greece itself, and it can combat plastic waste at the same time, and it uses less asphalt as standard road construction. And secondly, we also planned of the recycled part because we wanted to promote a much more idea of a sustainable city instead of just making a normal neighborhood park.
I'm not aware of this plastic road implementation in Greece, but maybe the other jurists are aware of that. Just to be clear, you haven't mentioned anything about solar energy in the presentation, right? Okay, no problem. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions on the presentation?
I'd like to ask again, how do you come up with the cost, a bit of analysis about the cost, 133 million? And do you have any source?
Oh, yes, we do have a source. Okay, so this is pretty much the cost function that we constructed based on what we would expect for the entire 30 years of the lead. So within the first 5 years, we expect these to be the initial startup costs. So things like your administrative costs, legal costs, costs of like collecting raw materials which are necessary for production. We think that these are likely to all occur within the 5 years and they're spread out. So how this graph is going to look like initially is that it's probably going to look like a steep uptrend because of the incredible amounts of the incredible amount of capital needed in order to finance the construction initially. Following that, from the next 30 years onwards, we basically include the maintenance fees for within the school campus and outside of the school campus. So basically over here, we have the maintenance fees, which increase every single year. I'll explain later how precisely how we modeled this function later. So over here each year, since there are pretty much not much like we don't have like extra demolition costs or like necessary construction costs. So over here is blank, and then from here onwards, it's pretty much just maintaining the building. The first thing I want to explain here is precisely how exactly we derive things like our maintenance fees. So what I assume is that in this, we took statistics online as to how much it would cost to maintain things like, maintain every meter square of an office block. And what we did was that we looked at analytics on Greece and measured the prices of them like relative to other countries and managed to derive, I think, about like 11 euros per meter square based on this. And then after that, we modeled it further even here. And then we continued that. But we also account for things for like inflation every single year. So like we model this after a healthy growing economy. So the prices of this increase every single year by 2%. But on top of that, we're also like taking into account like population growth within the settlement itself. So how we did this is that we extrapolated like the population growth of the loss on average for the past century. And we found out that it was like around 0.34%, 0.43%. And then we modeled it into the function and increased the maintenance cost accordingly every single year. So that's for our cost function. Do you have questions about the revenue function? I can go into them. All right, okay.
Thank you very much, Delina. It should be something really short, but I think it's interesting.
It's a yes or no question. Just for clarification, for your cost kind of plotting that you did you also include in the end you mentioned, for example, kind of the risks that you want to mitigate, which also included some costs. Did you have numbers for that? Did you estimate those in the costs as well, or is that just further thought for process?
I think in terms of risks, I think the way we factored risks into our projections was mainly into the revenue and not necessarily the function, not necessarily the cost function. So I'll explain this further. So over here, we have our best case revenue function, and moving on. We have our worst case revenue function. So over here, we factor in things like macroeconomic instability. So in this place, like I did things like I assumed that, okay, maybe inflation would be higher like than usual. So like on average, 4% every single year. And then things like also like in the event that the population in Veloz decreases, then our revenue function would also decrease. Or like maybe the businesses are unsustainable. We also factor that into it. So like how the revenue function is created is a proportion of our best case scenario, meaning that like our best case scenario assumes that we operate at like the greatest capacity possible. But in this case, we operate at a fraction of this. So say, for example, our dorms only operate at 75% capacity, similar for our car park and our business investment as well. And yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. You had an amazing Q&A session. So let's move forward to Team Taiwan, one of my favorite ones. You go.
Hello. This doesn't work.
Doesn't.
This doesn't. This. Oh, then can. Hello, everyone. We are Team Taiwan. I'm Crystal.
I'm Kenny. I'm Tiger.
So today, as a consulting firm, we will help our construction company revitalize Western Bolos's community with our reconstruction plan with the University of Thessaly. Next page, please. In this presentation, we're going to first begin with our environmental analysis of the project, next the facilities and the implementation, and third, the community's integration of our plan, and lastly, the quantitative analysis and our final decision. Next page, please. And now I'm going to begin with environmental analysis. So first, in this PPP, the construction company is in charge of renovating this abandoned area for the University of Thessaly. However, we recognize that if the only source of revenue is from UTH's payments for rent and administration, there is no way for the project to be profitable for the construction company. Thus, we find it vital to analyze the current environment to develop new additional opportunities to generate operational benefits and revenue through attracting more people while ensuring the cost, while being cost effective with our near zero energy constructions. Next page, please. And now looking at the map with the green label there, you can see that the abandoned cotton factory is in the margins of Volos and is pretty far from other campus buildings that are represented by the red dots over there. And it takes 30 minutes through public transit to get there. It's also in the Neo-Ionia municipal with a decent sized population of 33,000 people. And however, we recognize that it lacks a recreation and entertainment center for its people. Therefore, we will be seizing this opportunity to develop a community center through centralized provision of sports, food, recreation services for its civilians. In addition to that, we also recognize the Mediterranean climate of Volos allows effective green energy collection through solar panels and also rain absorption. So, in addition to the initial request of the school to develop their own facilities, we're going to add a community center to the reconstruction plan to allow revenue and profits for the company while bringing social benefits as we're incorporating green energy into the society. And now Kenny will bring to you guys the facilities and the implementation plan. Thank you. Next page.
Thank you, Crystal. Beside the original facility that is requested in the university, we strongly suggest that the construction company will have to construct a community center. So after abolishing the original building, our team suggests that we are going to divide the campus into 4 parts, which is education building, dormitory, community center, and open area where people can socialize and enjoy activities. So the space between the building will be the for people to walk, and also all the building will construct in the modern style, along with the near zero energy consumption. Next slide, please. So regarding as our teaching facility, it's that it is located at the west side of the whole campus. Also, there are 3 biggest features. First of all, spacious. Next of all, diversity. Third of all, it's near zero energy building. In order to achieve this, our team strongly recommend to implement HVAC system. The system allows the indoor temperature to exchange with the underground temperature and to achieve lower energy consumption. Other than that, we suggest that to cover up the building with insulation layer on the outside of the building to block the hot temperature outside. Next, thanks to the daylight harvesting system, we can allow the sunlight to directly get into the building and to therefore decrease the electricity and the energy consumption. And the rest of the energy will be powered up by solar panel, which we will locate the solar panel at the roof of the building. It is important to note that all of these 4 elements were located at the 3 modern buildings. And with the estimated 87% of energy consumption saved, and Tiger will continue about the implementation plan.
Thank you, Kenny. So now let's walk south of the campus, which is where the dormitory is located. We will providing 200 spacious rooms to accommodate over 800 UTH students. But we also acknowledge that there is a high cost of cars and a long commute time from here to the city center, which is 30 minutes. So we have a shuttle bus service for those students, which can cut the commute time from 30 minutes to only 10 minutes. And also, on the basis of the near zero energy elements of the teaching building, the dormitory will also feature living wall and also pervious concrete sidewalk to retain water and also beautify the environment through green building. Next slide, please. And now works in the opposite side, which is our community center, and which is the place we will generate most of our revenue outside the rent of UTH. Starting with the basement, we will construct an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a sports center, and a fitness center. And those will be freely open to all UTH students, but we will charge a fee for other citizens using it. For the first floor, it will be our food court and shop street. We will be renting out those places to restaurants and shops, and we will collecting 15% of their revenue as their rent. As for the second floor, it will be the place for shopping, the place for working and studying, because we will construct a public library and co-working spaces. And each of those spaces will be renting out for 150 euro per month. As for parking issues, we will have 100 place parking slot outside of the community center for all visitors to use. Next slide, please. Last, it will be the open area lawn, which will normally function as a park for recreational use for citizens, such as picnic. But we will also host weekly and monthly events, such as music festival or secondhand shops. We will combining the community and also generate profit. And for other parts, we can also be renting them out for exhibitions, concerts, or even private events. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about community integration. By centralizing our neighborhood through education, sports, socializing, and recreational facilities, we can bring an unprecedented convenience into the society. And also through the events we held, and also the architecture that is modern and green, we can attract outside tourists to secure public popularity. And through all those two, we can secure revenue stream with parking fee, membership, rent, revenue share, and event hosting fee. And now Jim will talk about the financing of our project.
Thank you, Tiger. So as demonstrated in the graph to the right, our capital will mostly go to infrastructure such as dormitory and research center. And when we add it all up, along with miscellaneous, labor, insurance, and other costs, we arrived to the conclusion that the company will have to pay 91.3 million euros as its start cost, which can be raised through loans and public fundraisers. Even though we suspect that much of the fund will be raised through loans, it actually amplifies the advantage of PPP, as collaboration from the government ensures supply to many risk-free and low-interest loans. Next slide, please. And also, as previously mentioned, our revenue will come from rental fees and operational revenues. When we take that into account, we arrive to a conclusion that our company will be expected to break even at year 17. And as demonstrated from the graph, both revenue and profit is expected to grow at a nearly linear rate, demonstrating strong potential for growth. And we calculated at an IRR of nearly 6%, which is why we would strongly recommend the company to accept the current offer at 94 million euros. And next, Evan is going to walk us through the risk and the corresponding mitigations of the project. Thank you, Jim. After knowing that our project will be financially feasible, we acknowledge that there are still some potential risks that might happen. But don't worry, our team has already come up with the mitigation strategies to tackle each of these risks. For example, if we observe a failing revenue trend, we will advise the constructing company to diversify away from its underperforming services and also makes
advertisement on the community facilities in order to generate a more stable customer flow and therefore profits. Next slide, please. And now, as concerns over the potential risks has been mitigated, our team highly suggests a constructing firm to collaborate with a university and apply to its university offers, not only because of the relatively high initial rate of return it can generate, but also the ESG initiative the construction company can achieve alongside with the construction plan. And most importantly, through the implementation of the near zero energy buildings, the construction company can benefit not only from the reduction in energy costs, but also it can contribute back to the environment and to the society. And most importantly, the implementation of this university as a community centers generate a positive externalities on the neighborhoods as it enhances the living condition and also consolidates a sense of community. Do not overlook the power, the impact of a small renovation plan. We are Team Taiwan, and through our plans, even a small campus can have an enormous impact on our community. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. It was a great one. Do we have any questions coming from our on-site judges? Or maybe one from online?
I have a question from online.
You are online. I'll notify the venue that you have a question. And this is done. Just a second, they will. You can go, Christian.
Okay, can you hear me? Team Taiwan, can you hear me?
Do we have a question actually or not?
Yes, I have a question, but I don't know if you can.
Nobody?
Christos, we have a question from a jury member online.
Great.
Christian, you can go ahead.
Okay, looking over your profit slide, if you can go back a few slides to the profit slide with the graph. Back, this is the one. No, one more. Okay, this is the one. Okay, considering that this construction takes about a few years, about 3 to 5 years, depending on the project, and then you have to secure the maintenance for the next 30 years. I can see that your profit is keep on rising, especially after you make the break-even point, as far as I can see somewhere in. Anyway, year 16, if I'm correct. Okay, did you take into account the moment? Yes, that's year 16, perfect. Okay, have you considered in your calculation the moment when actually your equipment, especially the solar panel, will have to be refixed, rebuilt? Because we know very well that any solar panel has 20 to 25 years warranty, which we can assume that after about 20 to 25 years, you just have to, basically they're going to reach to the economies of scale moment, and you just have to spend a lot of money again on those solar panels, and that will be a cost for you. So I just want to know if you consider this cost, that the value of the equipment and everything you've been in the beginning will kind of lose value over time. Thank you.
Of course. So if you could go to the previous slide. So one of our considerations we took into fact is that the solar panel will of course depreciate, and we need to maintain them on like a regular schedule. So could you go to the previous slide? Previous, yes. So we also took that into account. This is one of our usages of the capital we have. Apologies for the typo. But we took solar panels into account and their maintenance. We converted it to present value, and that's how we get it. So yes, we did take it into account in short.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have any other questions? I think we are okay with your team. Your presentation was great, and good luck. Let's move. Let's move forward to another great team who won last year finals, the Romanian team. Let's invite them, of course, not on board, but through Zoom. We are going back to Zoom for the next two teams. So, Team Romania.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're just waiting for the rest of our.
Yeah, I know. So you have 3 more participants, right? Can you please ask them to join now? Just give us a minute or 2. We can collect everyone. By the way, colleagues on Greece venue, do we have an option of letting the team control the slides? Okay.
Yes.
We have this option. Guys, Team Romania, would you like to control your own slides or would you like us to control them for you?
You can control them and we'll just tell you to move the slides.
Okay, so please do that. So now we have Haidar, Agnes, Maria, Albert. Oh, we have everybody now. So you can take your time, inhale, and then start. Thank you.
We have seen firsthand how a lack of education prioritization can lead to disastrous effects. Romania has one of the lowest functional literacy rates in the EU. Thus, we were immediately interested and committed to helping your company. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are Vision Consulting on behalf of Team Romania, and this is our proposal for your company's public-private partnership with the University of Thessaly, using innovation from the past that guides the solution of the future. Next slide, please. You now have the opportunity to engage in a public-private partnership with the Greek government and the University of Thessaly as they attempt to promote scientific and cultural development. Our main goal is to consult you and as you make this decision. Next slide, please. Instead of providing just a cost breakdown and feasibility analysis for your construction company, we have gone above and beyond and designed a complex, detailed plan in order to guide your decision, including several community buildings like the planetarium and the amphitheater, with an emphasis on near zero energy buildings and restoration and architectural heritage promotion. Our team consists of architecture and urban planning experts, as well as economic and financial analysis, helping us provide multidimensional consulting for your company. Next slide, please.
With the help of expert designers, we have created this blueprint to showcase our vision of this new area in Volos, featuring state-of-the-art facilities, lush green areas, and educational centers to motivate the community. The 3D plan can give you insight on the dimensions of these buildings, as well as where they are situated. Next slide, please.
The university has a history of restoring industrial architecture into educational buildings. And so we propose that instead of taking down the old cotton factory, we restore it into a lecture hall for the Department of History, Archaeology, and Social Anthropology. The history and grandeur of the building would enhance local architecture, combining the old with the new, as well as lowering costs and increasing sustainability. Students will also benefit from field trips to Dimini, and we hope to partner with a local professor in order to ensure high quality and standards. Next slide, please.
Our proposed construction plan includes academic facilities, such as a new lecture hall, archaeological research building, and residency halls for 750 students, but also contains many community-oriented buildings. The new Vangeli Amphitheater, Planetarium, and Primary School will increase culture and social development in the area. We estimate the total time of completion for the project to be 2 years. Next slide, please.
Sports are encouraged through the polyvalent hall, the stadium, and the outdoor tennis courts. We believe that this mix of facilities is able to create a welcoming and enjoyable atmosphere, whilst also promoting education and recreation. The parking spaces suffice for the students and staff alike, and near the archaeology center, there's also a bus stop to ensure effective transportation options.
Our engineers have crunched the numbers and found that by installing solar panels on all available roof space, we will be able to generate around 430,000 euros annually, making them a worthy investment. In 6 years, the solar panels will pay for themselves and already start generating a profit. Next slide, please.
Additionally, in an effort to reach near zero energy consumption, we'll also be employing ingenious construction techniques, placing windows on the south side to lower heating and cooling costs, investing in sturdy insulation, and installing LEDs and efficient water heating systems. All of these efforts combined will lower the energy demand for new buildings. Next slide, please.
Corporate social responsibility is a priority for our company and for this project, and we aim to fulfill it by lowering energy usage, building green spaces and community building, and building a new school that will help improve primary education and break the poverty cycle. To exemplify the impact we hope this project will have, we have chosen Eleni. She was born to a low-income family and did not have a school close to home, but now she will be able to attend primary school, grow up to be a highly motivated learner, attend UTH, and be inspired by the academic architecture in the area to reach for the stars. We hope to see many more such success stories in the future after the project is implemented. Next slide, please.
So after running calculations, we have come up with an approximate budget of 93,860,000 euros. This should be more than enough to cover construction costs, and the added buffer of 10% will ensure that the project is financially feasible and will not be disturbed by any unexpected costs arising. Next slide, please. The private-public partnership will function as a build, operate, transfer scheme, and we hope to receive 19.1% of the funding from the European Union, as has been the case with many similar public partnerships, public-private partnerships projects in Greece in the past. This will lower costs and bring the yearly rent paid back by UTH to around 2,632,000 euros in the first year, which will also increase with inflation. Next slide, please. Having run a SWOT analysis, we have outlined the main findings here, but we want to emphasize that while the project will have a further positive impact on the community by creating 250 jobs, it also has the threat of non-completion. We hope that by keeping these risks in mind, we can mitigate them and have a successful project. Next slide, please.
We also ran a cost-benefit analysis, and although we were not able to include all external costs and benefits, we have exemplified noise pollution and future salary increases to show that even when taking into account external effects, the net social benefit will still be almost 5 million euros. Our proposal is practical, and it will impact society for the better. Next slide, please.
As far as feasibility goes, we believe that as long as these criteria are respected during construction, it will develop smoothly. Most significantly, we want to emphasize how important it is that the plan is developed professionally and reviewed by construction legal experts to avoid any future complications. Next slide, please.
All public-private partnerships run the risk of unexpected costs, disrupting construction, delays, unexpected government interference, and an inadequate legal framework. But as your consulting company, we'll make sure that such risks are mitigated through expert legal contract drafting and realistic expectations. Next slide, please.
We hope to begin construction in 2024, finalize in 2026, and then start seeing the positive effects by 2029 and 2038. As the educational facilities get fully put into use and the local community benefits from them. We hope that together with other similar initiatives, we will be able to achieve Greece's goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Next slide, please. We believe that a global approach to climate change in education is important. And so by implementing the Volos construction project, Your company can bring us closer and closer to achieving the UN's Sustainable Development.
Thus, we suggest that your construction company accepts the 94 million euros budget and implements the project we have designed. You will focus on restoration rather than demolition and build many community-oriented and culturally significant buildings. However, we also advise you to only take the deal after seeing very firm conditions. You have legal experts reviewing the contract, you emphasize the importance of near zero energy emissions, and you establish your role and the government's role in the collaboration clearly from the very beginning. Next slide, please.
Thus, Team Romania, through Vision Consulting, has shown you how you can accept the public-private partnership proposal and really make a difference. By having near zero energy consumption, building community developing sites such as the planetarium and amphitheater, and restoring individual and industrial architecture to promote Greece's history and heritage, we can use inspiration from the past to guide the solutions of the future and go above and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear team. Dear jury, the online jury, do we have any questions from the online jury members? Not that I see.
So we may have to go to the offline ones.
We may start with Christian. We do have a question from Christian. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, team. Welcome. Very nice presentation. I have a question. You rely your project a lot on rebuilding the area, actually not demolishing the factory. Have you considered how old is the factory, how much is going to cost you to restructure the building instead of demolishing it? Because as far as I've seen, I've done a small Google research, the factory is quite old and you might have a lot of problems restoring the factory, renovating the factory and trying to use it as an attraction for the tourists.
Yes, we have done some research regarding this. The price on a meter squared for construction in Greece is of 2,000 euros for residential. And so we have assumed that for a university space, it should be a little lower. And we approximated the price of 1,500 euros per meter squared. This means that 52,000 times 1,500 is 78 million to a new construction, with the cost of demolishing. In Greece, we have researched and found that it's actually cheaper to restore rather than build. Therefore, we thought that we should implement this as we assumed a cost of around 1,200, 1,400 per meter squared to restore.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So let's move forward to the questions from our jury members here in Greece. Would you like to ask something? Do our team members have something to add in this presentation? So thank you very much, Team Romania.
Can I add something?
Please go ahead. Yes.
And we could go
Albert,
I can say, okay. I wanted to tell you more in detail why you should invest, why investors should put their money in our project. So our private-public project involves a long-term contract with a time span of 30 years. And this means that it offers a stable revenue stream, thus predictable cash flows for investors. Moreover, as it involves a direct collaboration with the public sector, it means that investors will benefit from lower political and regulatory risks compared to purely private ventures. It also focuses on sustainability and...
Excuse me.
Yes.
We don't believe you are answering the particular question. You're just elaborating, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to add this. Do I continue or?
Okay, let's turn off the speakers. Okay, now it's better. Since we don't have any more questions, you should be going and we should be moving to the next team, Team Canada, which we have invited. Thank you very much for your presentation. So can we go to Canada? Can you hear Greece?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you.
And we have Team Canada here. Dear contestants, do you wish to control your own slides or do you wish us to help you control them?
We wish to control ourselves. Thank you.
You can request the remote control. One of your team members will control the slides, right? Please do request it right now.
How do you do that? I'll be the one requesting.
Okay. Eric, right? Eric Zhao.
Oh, I think I did.
Yeah, I think. Are you moving the mouse now? Try
I'm moving the mouse now, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, I think it works. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So you may start now.
After a decade of economic downturn in Greece, you, the foundation of society, stand on a precipice of a new era in construction, where efficiency meets innovation, sustainability aligns with profitability, and vision transforms into reality. Hello, our names are John,
Daniel C.,
Olivia,
Daniel Z.,
and Jujin.
We are Team Canada, and this is our vision for your construction company. Our executive recommendation is to submit a bid accepting the estimate of 94 million euros. In doing so, ensuring the optimal economic, social, and sustainable value of the property while maximizing the income derived from this asset. Conforming with the ideas put forth from the university, we propose the prioritization of building cutting-edge green technologies, welcoming the public-private partnership. In doing so, saving over 5 million kilowatts of energy, the reduction of 54,000 tons of CO2, and projecting a break-even point in 8 years.
Our analytical framework focuses on answering the single question: if and how our client should apply for the project. We conduct our analysis empirically with indisputable facts and data, and we develop potential solutions with efficiency, profit, and value in mind. The traditional contract style is highly inefficient. On the left, the market for traditional contractors' work is illustrated. At the market's equilibrium quantity, the contractor has an incentive to produce substandard work due to asymmetric information. The government has incomplete information about the quality of work, and therefore, the government has lowered demand for it. The PPP structure solves the problem by making the contractor responsible for maintaining the infrastructure. So the contractors are incentivized to ensure the quality, since they will have to take long-term costs into consideration.
Now let's look at the key stakeholders in this project. First, we have the university, whose ultimate goal is to create a safe and enjoyable environment and lifestyle for students and public. The next goal is to maintain as small and minimum maintenance costs as possible for the foreseeable future. Moving on to our honored client, we believe that your priority is profits, but we're going to be showing you through our proposal how you can achieve higher profits while maintaining your ESG and also saving the environment, helping saving the environment. The next underestimated stakeholder is the government, and they prioritize economic growth and also social welfare. By leveraging all of the incentives from all three parties, we can ultimately prove to you why our solution is one that is the most optimized and will create a win-win-win situation.
We began our analysis by examining past public-private partnership, or PPP projects. In 2014, 24 Schools in Attica project was one of the first public-private partnerships completed. Its financing structure was first questioned by the Ministry of Education officials, but the completion of the project turned to be a huge success and boosted local people's welfare. And it was the first example that demonstrated the feasibility and the underestimated potential of PPP projects.
In addition to the PPP structure, how can we utilize our incentive analysis to greater benefit for you, our client? If you look at the graph on the left, we can see that there is a positive externality that happens in this project, but please note that this only occurs if you follow through our recommendation of the use of three green innovative technologies. If you use the conventional or traditional approach, or do the bare minimum, this externality does not exist. Now, how does this externality benefit you and also the other parties to a great extent? Well, we can see that the university, which is publicly funded by the government, they both have an incentive to subsidize your company and encourage you to proceed with using these technologies. So what are these technologies then? A lot of other, what is commonly focused on is usually just the absorption of energy, which is solar panels. However, through our three-step development model, you can see that we not only consider the absorption of energy, we also focus on storage and also management of energy. Why should we focus on storage of energy, you might ask? Well, if you look at the graph on the bottom left, you can see that there's a high variation in the intermittency in terms of sunlight hours and volos. This means that in order to keep the standards of lifestyles consistent throughout the year, we must store energy using batteries. And lastly, we can use the BEMS system in order to effectively manage energy, leveraging both data and IT technology.
To improve the cost estimation, an optimal city design utilizing a multi-nucleal city model in conjunction with concentric circles enables low-cost projections. The blueprint not only meets criteria set by the university, as demonstrated by the respective land sizes allocated to each part of the multi-sector, but also provides innovative criteria to ensure the feasibility of the project. Not only is ample space provided for solar panels, contributing to the zero net energy consumption goal, but the blueprint introduces a surplus of green space and wooded area, combating the urban heat island effect. Furthermore, the possibility of land leasing to local businesses would support local economic growth, drawing revenue to the university and improving the quality of life of students, both of the incentives to key stakeholders outlined previously. Drawing from the average industry, which we invite inquirement during the Q&A, the accumulated cost can be divided into capital expenditures with a summation of 92.8 million euros and an operational cost of 1 million euros annually, further comprised of maintenance and insurance, the desire for which we will cover in risks and mitigations.
In Southern Europe, 1 square meter of solar panels generates 430 kilowatt hours of electrical energy per year. With 12,000 square meters of solar panels, over 5 million kilowatt hours will be generated annually to achieve net zero electricity consumption. The total carbon emission reduction will be 54,000 tons over 30 years. The project can be financed by using a mixture of internal capital and new borrowing. During the 2-year construction phase, commercial loans should be used. After the construction is completed, the loans can be refinanced as long-term loans using future university payments as collateral. Based on comparable construction companies, the required rate of return is 12.5%. Setting the net present value to 0, we find that the project must generate at least 12 million annual net payments over 30 years. This will allow the firm to earn an industry standard rate of return, positive accounting profit, and zero economic profit. Assuming the maintenance cost of 1 million, the break-even annual rent that the university must pay should be 30 million. Given this rent, the payback period, that is, the time when the firm recoups its investment without taking into account the time value of money, will be 8 years.
I'm sorry, Daniel, I believe there's something with your microphone. Can you maybe switch to another microphone if you have it? Okay, team, you can go on if you wish.
All right. So the project commences with a 2-year planning phase in which loans are procured and subtractors are found for the project. In the following phase, a 2-year construction phase paired with rigorous inspection ensures a safe and timely completion. In 2027, the operating phase begins, lasting for 30 years. Throughout the project, efficiency will be tracked by comparing the last completion date of construction over time with the projected dates. Quality will be tracked by implementing a rigorous inspection system and tracking all defects. Satisfaction will be ensured by requesting periodic performance reviews from the university throughout the duration of the project. Finally, financial health will be ascertained by recording ongoing costs with continuous comparisons to budgeting expenses. For any ambitious projects, risks will inevitably arise. Of the highest consequence, given the recent Greek debt crisis, we acknowledge the, albeit low, risk of the university defaulting on its payments. We choose to mitigate this by imposing a risk premium. Equally dangerous, the risk of earthquakes, especially in unsupported underground areas, will be of paramount importance in Europe's most seismic country, with comprehensive insurance purchased to offset any posed dangers. The risk of exceeding the allocated budget, though moderately likely, was mitigated by making conservative cost estimates and maintaining liquid reserve assets for an emergency fund. Finally, the potential for soil contamination on former industrial sites is present, and soil samples should be taken prior to construction to ensure the safety of workers and future users. The construction of this project is a win-win-win. Society benefits through the net zero energy consumption, city residents benefit through the economic stimulation Volos will experience, and the quality of life for students and residents will dramatically improve. Most importantly, your construction firm will benefit through their prospective low-risk investment in a public project, development with a stronger brand image, and the expected profits this project would generate. With construction completed in 2025 and accounting profits achieved in 2033, earning a 12.5% industry standard return, this is not just a proposal of profit, but a roadmap to innovation, sustainability, and prosperity. Join us to construct the future of Volos. Thank you, and we'll now take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Team Canada. Let's first go to the online jury. Dear online jury members. Okay, we have a question from Christian. You go ahead.
Hello, Team Canada. I just want to start by saying congratulations, John, for saving the situation. Well done. But I have a question for you. It was a bit unclear for me the way you're going to structure the whole area in regards to building the dormitories for the students, building the school, and of course, where exactly, basically how you split the area in terms of the requirements of the university for the facilities. And
yes,
how, one second, and the way you split it and how each area is going to bring you revenue. If you can just elaborate a bit more on terms of how you're going to generate revenue from each area that you're building. Thank you.
Okay, so if it's a financials question, then not based on the design of the city, I'd like to pass it off to Daniel Chen, who made the majority of the financial work during this project.
Thank you for your question. So we assume that the usage of the area will be a decision by the university and not by our client, who is a contractor. And so our costs from all these areas will be only for the maintenance, and we expect a rent or some sort of payment from the university for using them. Does that answer your question?
I just want to know exactly how do you generate revenue? It's just in terms of money that you're going to get from maintenance, from university, and rent, or anything else? What is basically how would you split the revenue that you make from the area that you've constructed?
So are you sorry, just to clarify, are you talking about different revenue streams?
Exactly.
Okay, so with that, on the behalf of our construction company, which is you, our client, we have provided a brief model over here of how we can split the land. So the main source of revenue is definitely from the university, right? They're paying you the rent in order for you to build the area for them. Some other minor sources of revenue include, say, if we were to charge any tickets for a sports facility, because we assume that it's going to be very popular for people, or they can buy day passes. Additionally, my partner John also mentioned the potential of land leasing for local businesses. However, this does have some negative repercussions that should be considered, and we believe that is at the disposal of the university since they are the one using them, but that is also another potential source of revenue. And then lastly, the university also has their right to perhaps put charges on the park, or they can keep them free. It's completely up to them. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, team. So now we can move on to the on-site judges. Do you have any questions for us? For the
So
team?
let's move forward to the next question. Yanis?
Hi guys, thank you for your presentation. Two quick questions. When are we going to have a break-even point? Is the first one.
Break-even point is 8 years.
8 years. Okay, so you have a list of risks, if I remember right. Have you adjusted this here exactly? Have you adjusted this 8-year break-even point on this risk analysis?
Yes, the risk is also considered when we're talking about our break-even point, including our mitigation strategy and their costs, and also what the benefits of our risk mitigation strategies can bring.
And still it remains in 8 years, the break-even point, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions? Do anyone would like to add anything? Okay, so then thank you, Team Canada. Thank you for being here with us. And let's move to the final team. Let's invite the Greek team to present whatever they have prepared for us.
Greetings, everyone. We are Team Greece, and this is our business case preparation. To summarize our given task, we had to prepare a business environment and a financial sustainability analysis in order to check the availability of an open space project, and then to assess future prospects, and finally to conclude on whether a potential contractor should or shouldn't participate in such a partnership. Next slide, please.
Now, when it comes to our business environments, next slide, please. Next slide. Now, when it comes to our business environment, we expect to see a favorable political, social, technological, and environmental business environment, though there are risks associated with the unstable legal framework, as well as the current economic condition of Greece. Now on to our next slide, please. Now here are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Overall, due to the good reputation of the university, we expect a lot of strengths and opportunities, especially when it comes to funding and the further development of our projects. However, due to the low credibility of Hellenic authorities, as well as the high upfront cost of investment, we do expect to have a lot of threats, the most important of which being the principal agent problem between the university staff and our company. Now on to the next slide, please. Now here we discuss about the topic of green building opportunities. We personally believe that green buildings will be very beneficial both to the occupants and to society. On the one hand, the occupants of these buildings will have better living conditions, as well as a lower carbon footprint. While on the other hand, due to the green facilities that are open to the public, the wider area is expected to greatly improve in terms of quality. Now, ultimately, this will greatly benefit the constructor, who will not only get an environmentally friendly face to the public, but at the same time, due to the reasons mentioned earlier, we expect very high occupancy and thus maximized profits. To the next slide, please.
Now moving on to the financial sustainability of the project. We do not know the conditions of the infrastructure, so we propose two plans. The first plan includes the complete demolition. The first plan includes the complete demolition of the existing infrastructure and the rebuilding of the open campus from scratch. The second one includes the partial demolition of the infrastructure and the renovation of the rest in the modern era dorms and facilities, as you can see right here. So we're left with two outcomes with two equivalent costs. The costs include fees for the construction of the dorms, the facilities, the sports facilities, green areas, roads, etc. More about the costs can be found in the appendices in the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So when it comes to funding and funding resources, we plan on getting funds from the EU, from several governing bodies in the area, and from equity capitals as in loans as well. So in an average case scenario, we expect the distribution to be 20% from external funds, 20% from equity capital, and 60% from the loan. Next slide, please. So now we're going to analyze the risks and opportunities. The risks are mostly related to the fluctuation of the prices, as well as the credibility of Greece in the foreign markets. We cannot though forget that we can also explore different opportunities, especially those regarding the future of the university as well as its international character. Next slide, please.
In order to define the financial survivability of our project, we need to look first at the revenues and costs of the university. First, we would like to point out that all universities in Greek are non-profit organizations. They don't make a profit. And all other graduates attend the university free of charge. Our main sources of revenue come from government funding, which is proportional to the number of students, and annual postgraduate fees, which we consider to be variable during our time period. We also have other miscellaneous sources of income, like conferences, publications, souvenirs, etc., which we assume to be stable during the time period. On the other hand, the costs include the maintenance and insurance of the building, including amortization of utilities, which is something that will be variable during the time period, and administrative expenses with regards to facilities and the facilitation of lessons. From our calculations, which you can find on Appendix 4 of the presentation, we expect an annual surplus of 20% of the revenue. Next slide, please. Going on to the contractor's rent, we propose an availability payment method for the private-public partnership. It is something that has been widely used in other similar partnerships in Greece. What we're going to do is that we'll take a specific percentage of the net profit of the university, of the surplus revenue of the university, which from research we have found to be approximately 40%. We assume that during the third-year period, the facilities that we're going to create will be fully used because there is a high demand for studies at the University of Thessaly, and we forecast an increasing number of postgraduate students in the following years, as you can see in the table on the left side. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now going to the expected returns and the break-even point. We expect to have the break-even point on the 28th year, when the number of postgraduate students, which is our key variable, will reach 6,125. After that, we will have a profit that will be approximately 9.3 million euros in present value. Next slide, please.
So now we needed to analyze the possible sensitivity of our implementation of the project. Therefore, we performed a sensitivity analysis and divided it into three scenarios. The first scenario, as far as the reduction in the students' demand is concerned, we assume that the 5% reduction in demand is feasible. However, this way we won't be able to break even during the time period of 30 years, and therefore we have a damage of 26 million euros. However, in the other two scenarios, we expect to break even lately and have a little profit and return of investment. Next slide, please. Thus, generally speaking, we expect a very low return of investment and a late break-even point in time. Therefore, clearly, the project is not very viable, and it is high sensitive in environmental factors. So we expect to be the for the profit to be lower than the one we would like to, and taking into account as well the expected payoff, the opportunity cost of the invested capital, and the high risks that we're facing, we discourage our client from applying to this project. Next slide, please. However, we acknowledge the fact that this project has some significant social benefit towards the society and the community of Volos. Therefore, we wouldn't want for the community to lose such an advantageous project. Therefore, we're going to suggest alternative solutions in order to mitigate this sensitivity that was analyzed before and to facilitate the implementation of the project in the future time. First of all, we suggest, first of all, we suggest the partnership with universities abroad in the form of maybe fraternities, and this way we can ensure funding from other governments as part of the expansion plan. Then we can propose inclusion of the startup incubators, and therefore we can ensure the future profits to be rising because of the incubated startups. And finally, we propose the cooperation of universities and industries as a mutual gain facilitated project. Next slide, please.
Thank you very much for your attention. We are now open to any questions. Thank you very much for your last presentation here. I would like to invite the on-site jury members to ask any questions they may have.
Thank you. Hi, guys. So since you are the only team today, for me personally, that I heard that they proposed not to go on with this investment, and you are the only team that I saw that they have pestle analysis. I have a tough question for you. If we decide to change something in here, which is the most important barrier, do you think? That maybe if it would change, then it would make you change the decision of the feasibility of the project. I don't know if the question is clear. Okay, which is the most important factor from this one?
Who will answer?
I believe one of the most important will be the EU funding. We had 15% in the previous slides, but if it increased, we could cover even more, even an even greater part of the cost and have a profit that will be worthy of making the investment.
Do you have any number in your mind that change enough in order to make it feasible?
I don't have an exact calculation, but I would say if it rose above 25%, maybe we could do it.
May I add something to your question? So the big problem is that, as I have mentioned in my slides, that Greece has a very bad reputation with EU funding because many of our projects get complete after a lot of years due to corruption, improper management. Thus, we are not given the opportunity to get the adequate funding necessary to do such a project. So it's a matter, it's not a problem of the company or the building itself, it's the matter that we cannot expand to such a degree without the help of the European Union, and we cannot get that help. Something very structural has to change to enable this behavior. Thank you for the time.
I give it to you then.
Okay, any other questions? Would you like to add anything? Okay, so we are officially, we have a question from...
Can I have a question, please?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I just made a quick research. Two major construction companies in Greece, they are saying that the cost of rebuilding, the cost of rebuilding a facility compared with the demolishing and starting from scratch is 5 to 12% higher. Another one said 10 to 20% higher. But however, in your calculation, the cost of rebuilding, it's actually lower by 12.7%. What's the base of your calculation for this number?
All right, so if we could please go to appendix 1 or 2 for the calculations. So we have calculated that demolishing and rebuilding the infrastructure is going to be more expensive because that includes the basic costs, Spiro. The basic costs of demolishing, which are going to cost 5,500,000 euros, as well as rebuilding is actually more expensive per square meter than renovating it. So that's how we base our calculations and how we find that numbers. More information can be found over here if you want any evaluation. I hope I've answered your question.
Okay, I just have to go through the numbers. It's a bit unclear still. You just mentioned that rebuilding is more expensive. However, in the slide that you have before, the rebuilding was, as I mentioned, 12.7% higher. However, most probably you have all the calculations done here. But thank you very much.
Okay, of course.
Just to be fair, I'm talking to every other team here. The guys from the Greek team probably have a little more knowledge about the Greek situation, for example, the corruption that they said, etc. So we're not judging this here. We're not gonna penalize someone that doesn't know the Greek situation. Okay, just to be fair. We are judging the approaches, even if the project is feasible or not. I just wanted to comment that because the guys mentioned things that no one else mentioned, but only Greek guys could know that. Okay, just to be fair.
It is a situation that we have every year. Unfortunately, we cannot avoid it. Last year it was the Chinese. Beforehand it was the Russians. Of course, we advise everyone, every jury member, even if you are Greeks, even if you are Swiss, even if you are Romanian, to please ignore any advantage that may those students have. Although it's a project that is not running right now, so probably it's a project that they weren't aware in advance. But anyway, thank you for mentioning that. And I hope that we will have great results and a winner really soon. So please vote. Thank you, Greece. Let's give some time to the jury members to fill in their forms, to finalize their grades, or maybe think about how they have graded by now so far. And I think that soon enough, we will be able to have the final results. It would be nice if we knew if this anxiety wasn't extended anymore. And I think that Anna is going to prepare those results for us soon enough. So I understand that the expectations are high. I understand that it is really interesting for you to know what is going on, who will be the winner. Do we have any guesses on who it will be? We have finalists that have been here before. We have the Canadians, the Romanians, Brazilians, all of those teams. And I see that you expect the results and you would like to have them as soon as possible. I do the exact same thing. Of course, you understand that we shouldn't make any mistake. So expecting is the best thing to do right now. Yes. We are still expecting for the results. I hope that the office is preparing them well, putting them or not. Attention, please. Please be seated because we have the results. We have to announce them, so please be quiet, be seated, and get ready for the final results. Can I have your attention, please? Attention, please. The results are here. Okay, so we have something else that I have never seen before. except for the case that I am the. They should be inside. So please come here because you will hear the most unusual results in IEO ever by the less appropriate presenter in this IEO, because I have seen all the 8 presentations and I am excited. I am really an enthusiast of economics. I really enjoy such situations, and I am really thankful for all of you, the jury members and the 8 teams that have been here and presented your work that, I will say it once more, has been prepared in only 24 hours. It's something that changes everything. So I will start by the 3rd place, but it's not exactly the 3rd place. You will know soon. In the 3rd place, with 83 points, we have, and I invite them here to be on stage and have a photo with us, Team Taiwan. Congratulations. So please, everyone, let's applaud. You really did great job. So let's move to the next team. Or to the next teams, because I don't know how you judges made it, but I see here something that I hope it's true. We have the silver medals. I'm glad that we haven't prepared them yet, because even if we had them, they wouldn't be enough. So you gave 85 points to Team Greece. Because I have to continue. I have to say more. Come here. But also, you gave 85 points to Team Canada. So, bravo. Please join us in the room of the presentations. I have more things to say, so you will have the time for this. We also have online Team Romania, who has still 85 points. But even this is not enough. Please give some space to the next team that is about to come. Let's invite Team Hong Kong. With 25 points. Is anyone left for the first place or no? Who knows? Hong Kong, come on stage. Yes, team leaders should be here too. We will make the photos for you. Please join us. And the final team that gets the silver medal with 85 points is Team Singapore. For the second time, they are online. For the second time, by different jury members, had the same grade as Team Greece. At least this time we've noticed, which is a good thing to do. So, I am really glad to announce that we have something like 25 silver medalists in this business case finals. Please. Clap. Thank you very much and congratulations. You did great. Thank you. Please stay around because we are going to announce the winner. Okay, it usually is a difficult thing to expect the winner because we wonder who it would be, who is left for this place. But this time, it's not the case, actually. The gold medal, the complete winners of this business case finals is Team Malaysia. The team leaders should join us too. So, for saying we use my advantage. Have a photo. Congratulations, you are amazing. I am glad that we had such an amazing final day, such an amazing presentation by you. All things were really close. So that's amazing. There is only one winner. Yes, thank you very much. Congratulations. So now I have to conclude. I have to thank the online and offline jury members. You have been amazing. You did a great job. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming when invited. Whenever we need you, you are here. I hope we have more events like this. I know that this is the last time that for this Olympiad we had something competitive. So let's enjoy the rest of the days. Let's have fun. And let's expect for the next country who will invite and host the IEO 2024. Thank you very much.